Good morning. Welcome to the service of unity of Bernie. Always wonderful to see you. And I know from your own comments online that blesses you, and I hope that each week will do that. This morning we'll be talking about the idea of what it means to be truly wealthy. So in that vein, I would like you to also consider this. If you're blessed by what we do, if it helps you in any way, then my prayer is answered, and I ask you only that you click the PayPal button and send the best gift of which you're able, or you send your checks to Unity of Bernie, P.O. Box 1973, Bernie, Texas 78006, because we live to do ministry. Our outreach, the people just.
Okay, now we're live.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Ann King, and in addition to having India with us today, we also have Joe Dominguez as our usher. David and I are going to be doing the PowerPoint, I guess. Tom is running a little late, and then he'll take over the camera stuff. And thanks to Maria or Sherry, none of which I see here. They're the ones that generally take the prayer box and get the prayers out. But if neither one of them come, we'll get it to them and they'll get it distributed. And I would say if it's your first time here, but I know everybody, so it's nobody's first time here. We're glad that everybody that is here, you know, it's been cold for a week. Now we're finally starting to get warm, and that's when we have such a small number today. No idea why. So if you're not getting email notices, you know to put your name and email on that back list under the chalkboard in the back. And the activities are listed in your bulletin. If you have any questions, you can talk to Reverend Jay, he does a lot of them, or a board member. And for the announcements, normally this time of the month we do have our daily words for March and April out. However, they did not come in the mail as of yesterday, so they will be out next week for sure. So, and those are complimentary. We're always taking dry goods and toiletries, etc., that go to the various Bernie groups, mostly family services, I believe. Lunch today is going to be at Bella Sera. And if you would like to go and have not told me, please let me know. I did, because we have so few people this morning, and we generally do have people coming in late. I did make reservations for a little bit more than we have, so we do have spaces. The ladies' lunch next time in March will be on March 19th. It's the third Wednesday of every month, and Sherry is the one that does that. And it's on Wednesday, that Monday before, you get an email notice saying that it's coming up and to make reservations. And you do need reservations because she has to know how big of a table to reserve for us. We had a real good meeting at Dodging Duck recently. We didn't have a lot of people. What did we have, about 5 or 6? Five. Okay, it was nice. And the Casey group is the second and fourth Fridays here in that room generally. Sometimes in this room, depending on if we have too many people or if we're watching a video. And it will be coming up this next Friday. In addition to that, we have the men's brunch group the second Saturday in March. Normally, it is the first Saturday of every month, but because Rick and Esther are traveling and he wanted to come, they postponed it by a week. But you can talk to David about that if you're interested. It's from 10 to 11:30. Saturday, March 8th is the next one. Sunday morning book discussion. We always have a good discussion going on. We're doing The Gift of Change by Marianne Williamson. So you don't have to keep up with it. You don't have to read ahead. Just come and join us and feel free to discuss. We stop periodically and talk a lot about what we're reading. So we have a sign-in sheet under the bulletin board. If you are new and would like to be listed for the monthly newsletters, weekly announcements, etc. A lot of things going on in Zoom. They're in your order of service. We generally keep the jackets and recycle them, and you can take the inserts. However, this is our last Sunday, so you can take the whole thing if you want it this time. And we're going to begin now, so stand up and we're going to have our celebration song, Onward, Ever Onward.
Onward, ever onward, marching evermore, with love's healing message ever to the fore.
Please be seated. Inside your bulletin, there's a prayer request form. If you want to fill that out, you can drop it in the prayer box as it comes by later. It's always in the back when you first get to church too, if you want to put something in it. And even if you think of something later and want to put something in it after church. They are prayed for by our own prayer team for a week. They're also forwarded to Silent Unity, where they are prayed over for a month. So now David Coleman will do the daily word for us. It says David Rosenblatt, if that's wrong.
As we quietly and gently prepare for the reading of the daily word, we remember that we are in spirit with millions of daily word readers and churches throughout the world. The Christ candle is lit as a reminder of the Spirit of God within all of us, which we call the Christ within. The word for today is wisdom. The affirmation is, wisdom guides my words and actions. When I have felt torn, trying to decide which way to go or how to handle a trying situation, I may have asked in prayer for insight and guidance. As I have grown spiritually, I have come to realize that any insight and guidance I could need are within me, aspects of my divine inheritance. Divine wisdom is my ability to intuit, to sense, and to discern my best choice. I pay attention to my hunches, flashes of inspiration, and the whispers of guidance I feel in my quiet moments. I believe they are divinely inspired, even if they surprise me. In confidence and with gratitude, I move in the direction of my highest good, trusting in my innate wisdom. And the scripture today is from Isaiah 30:21. And when you turn to the right, or when you turn to the left, your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. The affirmation is, and please say it with me, wisdom guides my words and actions. My name is David Coleman, and thank you for worshiping today with us, Sister Bernie.
Thank you. It was misprinted in your bulletin that David Rosenblatt was going to read the daily word, which was just the wrong David. But I do want to say that David Rosenblatt, our musician we have sometimes, is studying to be a licensed Unity teacher, and he is on the schedule to speak to us at the end of June. So, as a Sunday speaker, with Jay is off that day. All right. Please stand again. We're going to have our celebration song. I'm sorry, that's wrong, isn't it?
Call to faith.
Yeah, the call to faith. Okay. Together.
I
I welcome blessings of abundance in my life. I'm moving in thoughts of lack, loss, or limitation.
And now we're going to sing, There Shall Be Showers of Blessings.
There shall be showers of blessing. This is the promise of love. There shall be seasons of refreshing, sent from the Savior above. Showers of blessing, showers of blessing redeem. Mercy drops trembles are falling, now for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessings, precious reviving again. Over the hills and the valleys, sound of abundance of rain. Showers of blessing we need. Mercies of showers are falling, out for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessing, sent from the harvest, O Lord. Grant us now a refreshing, come and honor thy word. Showers of blessing we need. Mercy thou showers are falling, up for the showers we plead.
Thank you. Please remain standing for our mission statement, which we will say together.
Unity Fraternity is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people.
Thank you. Please be seated. I'm going to turn this over now to Reverend Jay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to this service of Unity of Party. It's always wonderful to be with you and see you. And this is a time in our service where we bring our prayer requests and make them known publicly if we so desire. We can also fill out the little slip of paper that's in our bulletin and pass it in the prayer box as Javier brings it forward. And sometimes the prayers are so personal, or they are so charged with our emotion that we can't even seem to get them out on paper or to say anything about them to someone. They're held in our consciousness. But the Spirit knows of what you have need before you ask. And so I invite you right now to go to that place inside that is full of peace, that is full of joy, that is no less than the Christ within. And make your requests known. Heavenly infinite presence, how wonderful it is to commune with you, to have a place where we can make our requests known, where we can share what's on our hearts. You know what we need before we even utter. You know the things that are on our minds. You know what is in our heart. And it's through the guiding principles of who we really are when we identify it. The Christ within. Right now, we release those things to you, to our higher self, that knows the answer to every question we have. And though we may not understand what we or others are going through right now, we know that when we affirm it, your perfect will be done in their lives. We ask that you touch hearts today, right now, that you open minds, that you give your sweet spirit animation in those that need it the most. The things that are on our hearts this morning, we release to you. The answer comes in perfect timing, under grace. We affirm this is true. We know you are the cornerstone of our being. We surrender our understanding to your perfect understanding. And we declare that this is done as we believe. And it is so. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. I brought this song by Karen Drucker, God is my source, to go with today's message, because Spirit is the source for everything we need. And you might know this one, and you're invited to sing along if you'd like. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Joy is my source, joy is my power, joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source, peace is my power, peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, peace gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my power, love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, love gives me everything I need. 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 In the midst of his children, alongside many would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just two or three. And I feel the sweet, sweet spirit that I felt all times before. Surely when you say, I've been with the Lord.
right now, recognizing that presence, feeling it inside, knowing that that presence is there at work in us, through us, we're receptive. We release our understanding of whatever is happening currently to the understanding of the one that is unconditional love, that is the truth of who we are. And in this upcoming silence, we make room for this presence to have sway with us by releasing those things that we know we've held on to and we need to release in the great ocean of God's love, surrendering our human understanding and tapping divine understanding. And in this silence, right now, we affirm that we're remade, recreated, and renewed. Within each one of us is the inner light that never dims, no matter what goes before us and what we have to face. And in this blessed time, we claim the blessings of peace, harmony, understanding, and most especially love. We have gratitude for this moment when we are lifted higher and we are at peace. And we declare it is so. Amen. Well, good morning. It's wonderful to be with you. Have some folks in the audience that like to try to make me laugh a little bit, and I appreciate them. As some of you know, I got to work with Reverend Dr. Catherine Ponder a good bit in the late 90s. She was involved in church planting, and what that is basically is she would tithe a particular amount of money to a group and see what happened and what folks gathered around this group and whether it became a church or not. She did it in Alabama, she did it in Arkansas, she did it in San Antonio. That's how Unity of San Antonio came into being, through Dr. Catherine Ponder starting the church, if any of you are familiar with San Antonio, on the Austin Highway at what was called the old Seven Oaks Hotel, became the Sheraton Motor Hotel. It was beautiful. It really was. It had a ballroom in it and a dance floor that was just lovely. And I was part of that. And I was also part of, when we moved to another location, she was involved in a monetary aspect to help us start the new Unity Center of Practical Christianity. People knew Dr. Ponder not only as a Unity minister, but as one, and by the way, she turns 100 very, very soon, in the next couple of weeks. 100 years old, think of it. Wow. Anyway, we had a meeting place that she wanted to fund and help. It was a time when Unity of San Antonio were going through some interesting and difficult things, and she thought, you know, San Antonio needs another Unity church. So one of the things that she did, said, I want good people involved in this. She said, so I want Reverend Marianne Bowers and UJ. And I appreciate being in that company. Marianne Bowers was a great mentor of mine, and some of you know the name, of you old timers probably know the name Joan McKee, who was part of that. She was Unity of Kerrville. Anyway, we began to form this center, and Catherine was extremely generous, and she sent boxes and boxes of her books, The Millionaire Moses, Secrets of Genesis, The Prospering Power of Love. All these I'm very familiar with. There were tons of them. And she said, I want them to be given out. She said, just ask for a donation, but let's get the word out. And one of the things that I did was to make myself acquainted with these works. I already somewhat was, but I became acquainted with the idea of what Dr. Ponder called prosperity. And it agrees in a great way with my own idea of what prosperity is. Now, each one of us has an idea of what that is for ourselves. Mainly, if you ask people about prosperity, they think of it in terms of money. And certainly, none of us that were involved in the Unity Center of Practical Christianity decided to say, no, Catherine, don't send those checks every month. We knew that we needed the financial backing, but we also needed to develop a prosperity consciousness. This is something that Dr. Ponder wrote about extensively, and if you're familiar with the books, you know that she's talking about a mindset, a way of living, of being, of appreciating, of knowing that God is your direct source. Emmett Fox wrote a small little card that said, God is your partner. We have said in New Thought Metaphysics that our source is always from God, not the outer, what seems to come to us from the outer, but within. In other words, our employer may pay our salary, but our source is God. God is working through that person to bring to us our good. In other words, we don't look at things on the human. We give thanks to the Spirit within that prospers us when we affirm that, when we recognize it, and we can release those blocks to the awareness of the wealth that we already have. And that can be a difficult thing for some folks, because you get in a certain mindset and you tend to discount the blessings that are at hand, the things that you take for granted. I asked when I was speaking and teaching certain of these ideas, and certain books I'll refer to in a little bit, I asked the question, would you give $1 million for your hand? Would you give 10 million for one eye? What? The things that we're born with are the things that are priceless. Think about that. You already have, you're a natural millionaire right now because you have the ability to think. You're conscious. You have the ability to choose. So many of us think, as I did at one time, that wealth is that Cadillac in the driveway, that home in the Dominion, that bracelet that's on your wrist that's a diamond tennis bracelet, whatever it may be. These things are outer. We think that is prosperity. That is a result of a consciousness of prosperity. There's an old saying that one my spiritual teacher had. Wealthy people have wealthy ways. If money is what you want, I guarantee you, if you set your consciousness to that idea of attracting money, it will come to you. If you focus, for example, in New Thought, we talk about building a treasure map. We talk about taking the ideas of something you want, cutting pictures out of it, say it's a new car, or whatever it may be, taking pictures of it, putting it on this board, and looking at it all the time, affirming, it comes to me effortlessly. It comes to me now. My consciousness expands for it. Treasure mapping is a wonderful thing to do, and I did it. But there's another side to it, which I'm about to get to. If you want something and you hold that image in your mind and you do the next practical steps in front of you to get it, the chances are you will. But sometimes when you get it, you get a little more than you bargained for. Our words mean everything in this work, in this spiritual way in which we live. Our words, the great part of saying, I am. And whatever you attach to that, be very, very careful. Because it is the way you're going to manifest. And if you don't want to manifest that, you need to release any statement from I am that doesn't have at its base all the good that you can encompass. In other words, say this, and you've heard me say it before. Say what you want, and say this or something better for the highest good of all concerned. That way, you know that it's coming to you perfectly under grace, and that it's not just your personality bull rushing into it. You may get it that way, through ironclad sheer determination. You're looking at one who did that and also paid a price for it. I was back and forth on whether I would tell this to you all this morning. But in the interest of things that, you know, being honest and where I have made mistakes and where I've had my great successes and those places in between, I figured that it's worth saying because it's something that happened. Back a long time ago when I was first starting out, I believed that wealth was just money. I was new to New Thought. I had listened to all the great sales trainers tell me that all you have to do is persist, and boy, did I. I knocked on doors to sell real estate. I did it 10 at a time at an age where you generally don't, you know, when you trust a 19-year-old to sell your house. And that's what I was in the business of. And I knew that the deck was kind of double stacked against me, but I persisted. 10, 20, 30. I knocked on these doors. I made myself ubiquitous in order that they would know. I put my cards everywhere in order that they would know that I was in their area and I was willing to sell their home for them. And though, as I told you, I didn't like math very much, I'll tell you one thing. I knew what 6% of something was real quick. And sometimes 8% if I was real lucky. And if I brokered a deal that wasn't so great, sometimes what 3% was. But it didn't matter. I knew that math. And that was a sole, single focus of mine. And it paid off. And the thing that I had wanted so much in my life at that time was, if any of you car aficionados remember the 83 Cadillac Eldorado. There were beautiful lines on it and so forth like that. And inside the leather is beautiful, and it was called it was Eldorado d'Elegance. And it came a time that I bought it. And I got into it and I loved it. And I appreciated it. It was something that had come to fruition that I had wanted this whole time. And I felt wealthy. And I felt prosperous. And those that were in business in my office began to see me in a different way. And I began to get more responsibility from the boss. And things began to work on a professional level. And here's the thing. I wasn't really happy. Had the car, had the money, had the wallet. I remember it was a Gucci wallet. Remember those green and red? It's what you do when you're successful, right? You go get the wallet, you get the car, you do all these. But I wasn't happy. And I wondered why. I'd done it all right. I had put out what I wanted, and the universe had answered me. Yes, I had done hard work, but I held that image in my mind forever. I invited my father and mother over to my first wife and my home. I said, look, Dad, here's the bar, fully stocked. Look at this, look at that. I took him everywhere. They were so proud of the material things that I had. And he was sitting on that nice plush couch. And I remember him asking me a question. He said, I'm so happy that you have these material things. Your mother and I at this age never had that. I was a struggling school teacher. He became a doctor of clinical psychology later in his career. He was a struggling school teacher when I grew up. And when he talked about that, I remember us at Corpus Christi Bay eating donuts in front of the ship channel under the big bridge, which is the harbor bridge. And I thought, we were about as poor as you could be. But when he mentioned that, oh, how that moved something. You know, I was far away from that. But I had all the material things that I think I could have wanted. And he asked me a question. He said, JR, are you happy? I said, well, look what's in the driveway, Dad. And he said, but are you happy? He said, because I'm your father, I want you to be happy. Your mother wants you to be. Are you happy? And I didn't say this to him, but I knew I wasn't. If I had been happy, I wouldn't have been drinking the way I was at night. Yeah, sometimes you have to self-disclose in this business. And it wasn't always sunshine and roses at that time. The relationship I was in was not the best for either one of us. And that car began to need certain things, upkeep and those things that cost every month. And I thought, well, since I'm a student of New Thought, what does wealth really mean? That's what I want to talk to you about this morning. Wealth is so much more than money. Before I leave this, I need you to know that I ended up selling the car. I ended up moving out of that relationship. And I thought to myself, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do in my life after I have had this measure of success. Where do I go? What do I do? And I had my, what you would call, wilderness experience. It was around that time that somebody, and you know who it is, it was Reverend Jack Moore, saw something in me. He saw the fact that he thought I could teach these principles. But I get a little ahead of myself. I wondered what true wealth really was. And it wasn't until some time later that I was involved with an author named Peter McWilliams, because I loved his work and wrote him and told him so, and we became friends. And he wrote a book called Wealth 101, Wealth is So Much More Than Money. I want you to think about that this morning. When you think about cold, hard cash, remember, it's really warm and nice to have in your pocket. I'm not denigrating money. Every one of us needs it to get through what we're going through in this phase of experience. But I'm asking you to think about what you consider to be true prosperity and what you would give in exchange for what you would receive. We always have to give something. Firstly, our attention. I heard a lady in one of my seminars said, I'm so broke, I can't even pay attention. There are people that are on all levels of manifestation and experience. What do they want? They say they want more money, and I believe that. But they also want the experience of feeling that they are wealthy. And once you get that feeling, as Neville Goddard said, when you can use your imagination to imagine wealth of whatever it may be, and Catherine Ponder wrote this very same thing in Secrets of Millionaire Moses. She said, if you can seed for this, seeding is the idea that you have something that you want, and you hold that in consciousness, and you water it and let it grow in your mind. You imagine yourself as if you're already in possession of it. Yes, feeling is the secret. But remember, there are certain responsibilities that come along with what it is that you want. So I found, for me, rather than treating for a Cadillac Eldorado, or for a wallet, or for this or that, I treated for the overall feeling of prosperity. That I was a child of the Most High, and that all these things would be added to me when I sought first the kingdom. And what did that mean to me? Seeking first the kingdom was seeking for my own truth. Because the Spirit withholds nothing from me. Never did Jesus say, I'm going to add something to you you don't have. He took away our mistaken ideas about who we are. He saw the very best in us. And when we do that ourselves, we begin to get very serious about what we manifest, and we start clearing away those things that really don't matter. You see, we're always attracting and repelling due to our consciousness. If I was to teach, and I have, a class in Metaphysics 101, the first thing I would say is forgive everything and hold a thought of the feeling that you want to have when you get what you think you want. Because if you just treat for material possessions, you end up with a box of trinkets. And you know what? One look at our history, look out in Hollywood, look out in business. If money bought happiness, then there would be no unhappy people, no unfortunate suicides, and rich people. And we know that that happens. We know that people say, I have everything I could want, and I'm still not happy. I had what I thought I wanted, and I wasn't happy. When Peter McWilliams wrote the book Wealth 101, he tackled this idea, and I was happy to go forth and teach it. And you know what happened when I taught it? The money started coming. Now, it wasn't as big as much as I had made in sales, but it was enough. And as my seminars began to get bigger bookings, things began to click. What happened? I was in tune with what I was really meant to do. My Father saw it. My Heavenly Father saw it. It took me a while to get around to it. Because when Jack Boland kicked me out on the stage at the Church of Today in Warren, Michigan, and said, you're going to do this work, I didn't believe it. But when I walked out there to give my 7-minute presentation, something came out of me. And I thought, well, where's this coming? Okay, where's it coming from? It's what I believe. I like the people responding. And all of a sudden, I knew what I was here for. That's wealth. When you know what it is that drives you, that puts you to sleep, that wakes you up, that you think about in between those times, that is your heart's desire. It may present as a car, it may present as a material thing, but what you want is the feeling that accompanies that. And you know, when you embody the feeling of having it, you're more likely to get it. It's a strange thing about this manifestation. Dr. Catherine Ponder said, you know, one of the most difficult things I think in Scripture is where Jesus said, to him who has a lot, he will be given more, and to him who has little, what little he has will be taken. Because the idea is when you hold on to a spirit of littleness, you tend to hug everything close to you, like, I can't let it go. And what happens is, by the process of your thinking, the process of thinking small, those things, even what you have can fall away. Because you're convinced that your good is a static, stop thing and not a flowing experience of being in the wonderful creative flow of the divine, as Eric Butterworth would say. I could give you metaphysical principles all day long to manifest. I could give you formulas that I've used. But what I'd like for you to take away this morning from what I'm saying is the idea that when you are honest with yourself, you may still want the car. You may still want the thing. You may want to affirm that you have it. Nothing wrong with that. But make sure that you're not using that as a crutch to prop up yourself because you don't think you're enough. Because when you do that, it may come in and fill that place. You may get it, but it's never going to be enough. But if you know that you're enough, if you know that you're it, if you know that you are God's beloved child, made in the image and likeness of God, and you believe that with all your heart, what happens is those things that come to you now become blessings to you to use and release when the time to release has come. You're not holding on to a thing for your good. You recognize inside you are good, and all these things are added unto you. If I get the idea across to you this morning that wealth is more than money, if I get you thinking about that, I feel like I've done what I wanted to do right now. Would you take any amount of money to change lives with somebody else right now? I know I've asked this question, even people who've had some of the hardest life experiences, they've never said that they would want to be somebody else. They've always said, I'd like to have what they have, or what a rich person has, or I'd like to have more, but I would not trade who I am. And if that's the case, and I believe that's true of each of us, if you feel that way, then accept the good that comes with feeling that way. The Unity Center of Practical Christianity in San Antonio was rolling beautifully. The money was coming and things were great until Mary Ann had some health issues that she had to step down. And that was when Catherine said, okay, Jay, you're it. And for the life of me, I'll never know why I didn't take her ordination by exception and just start being a pastor of that church. It wasn't the right time. Something had to be done in my life to get to that point. I don't have regrets, but I sure look back at that time and I think, boy, that church had a $250,000 bank balance. It was set up, and all I had to do was step in it, be ordained by exception, and off we go. But I didn't. And then I realized during that time, a lot of things happened in my life that were priceless. And if I had been taken that position, I may not have had those things occur. You see, God's timing really is wonderful. All you've got to do is listen. Set what you want. There's nothing wrong with wanting things. The thing that's happened is we get married to those things. We can't see them for the season they are and let them come and go. That's part of the ebb and flow of life. You ever seen somebody hold on to something so tight and it will crush the life out of them? Have you seen a little boy or girl that hold on to a cat? They think it's so beautiful, an animal. So when they hold it so tight, they're almost killing it. They're holding on so tight. You can hold on to things so tight that you can break them. Because you're holding on to a thing that represents something that's already here. And that thing that represents is the thing that's calling to you night and day. That's your Dharma. That's what you're here for. Listen to that. Don't focus so much on the thing that you miss the beauty of who you are. You came into this world wired for certain things for you to manifest and attract. It's part of your soul's adventure. But if you get married to one idea about how that good is supposed to look, you're going to block yourself. And then you're going to block other people because it's all meant to work in concert and harmony with one another. We think we're set apart and adrift alone in the world, but we're not. The Spirit is always with us, knocking on your door. Jesus said, what would you have? Think about that this morning. What would you really have? What constitutes real wealth? It may be money. You may need it this morning. There are people that tune in right now. I know, because I was a victim of identity theft. You go to bed one night thinking you have something in the bank and you wake up and you're wiped out. I'm not discounting money. What I'm discounting is the idea that that is the end all and be all of everything. Seek first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you. It doesn't say seek first these things, and then you'll recognize the kingdom. But sometimes that happens because we get it and we realize, well, I got it, but I don't quite feel the way I wanted to. Do you know that it wasn't until the year 1998 that I knew that what I had been made to do, to put here to do, was to speak, uplift people, and then finally to be in ministry. Which I thought, God, you had to make a mistake. You can't mean me. But it was an unmistakable call. And when I answered it, you know what? I never felt wealthier in my life. And I've never had a bank balance that was, well, I want to say this low, but I made a trade. You don't go into this business, a ministry to get rich, unless, we've seen some televangelists all do that. That's not what I'm talking about. There are payments that come to me from this work that I do that are beyond money. They are priceless. And I love every bit of it. I leave the money up to God. I leave the money up to the Spirit. I hold a place inside that says this and all greater things I'm open to and I'm ready to receive. And I've always been provided for, and it's always worked. Do I want a bunch of money? Who doesn't? Do I need it to be happy? No. I found that answering the call of my heart was the wealth that came to me, and I believe represented the wealth that came to me, and I believe that's true for each one of you. There's an old saying, do what you love, and the money will follow. I've done what I love for the last 20-something years, and I found blessings unexpected and manifested, manifold. And I'm so thankful and so happy. It's a wave of unending good that I am happy to ride. I invite each one of you all to find out what wealth means to you. And I bet you'll find out that it may encompass those dollars and cents, but there's more to it than just that. It's what the longing of your heart truly is. Investigate that and be at peace. And so it is. Amen. Now we come to the part of our service that we are privileged to give back what we have received, a percentage of. And I ask those of you who are watching online, send me some good energy for this throat. And those of you who are watching online to give the best gift you're able. And to add 10%, each one of you too, to add 10% for the lavishing sake, as Earl Nightingale called it. Or just because you know it comes back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. We're promised that. You can give the best gift of which you're able. You'll be part of the outreach of Unity of Burning if we're doing so much. I invite you right now, press your PayPal button or send your best gift to Unity of Burning, P.O. Box 1973, Bernie, Texas 78006. That's Unity of Bernie, P.O. Box 1973, Bernie, Texas 78006. I invite you to give your best gift as Joe comes forward right now.
Freely, freely I give. Thy love to me blesses all that I am, all that I give and receive, all that I give and receive.
Thank you, Joe. And for those of you who are viewing, I ask you to join with us in our prayer of thanksgiving and abundance. Those of you who are long-time viewers probably know it by heart already. Together we say, Divine love
Through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Together we stand and join hands. We feel comfortable in doing this.
Come on over here. Come through here.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, and we all are free. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Together we say,
The light of God surrounds us, the love of God upholds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and always is well.
you want more of my man? You're it.
Good man, I don't care what it There were three of her tables on that I came back for a second.
Well, we know who you are and how you are, and that's all that we need to know.
Be careful.
That was for Georgia.
The whole day through. Just a little. Oh, because I was up. You were up because I hadn't sat down. I got back and everybody else behind us sat.
Yeah.